Alright, welcome back everyone. Now we will need to be moving a little bit more slow compared to how we've been moving before, because I actually want everyone to get this part very well. May Allah make it easy. So I will try my possible best to explain so that you can understand. But in case there is something you still don't get right, I will advise you, make sure you ask questions in due time. Alright, so now I'll be adding, I want to believe all these are not strange to us. So this is telling us that we are declaring a variable, and what should be the value inside this variable is whatever that is input inside this id of form, and this id of form is what it meant for our input for form. So all these are not strange. Okay, now there is something called add event listener. You can add event listener, and at the same time you can delete, you can remove event listener. What is event listener? Okay, let me first declare it. Form dot, remember we have a variable called form here. Okay, so you can see, so it's a built-in something for JavaScript. Look at this form. So we have a variable called form before, so we now want to add event. We want to add event listener to this form. Remember, make sure it follows the camel casing. Camel meaning the first letter should be small letter throughout, while other words, the first word should be small letter throughout, while other words should have capital letter from the beginning. So form dot add event listener. What does this event listener work for? Okay, because it works like a function, so let me quickly add the parentheses. Okay, so this thing now, it is a situation whereby you want to add an event handler to a particular element. So that element that you want to add something to, you are going to declare it. You can use either double quotation or so submit. Let's go to okay. I want us to check what we currently have. Okay, so this is what we have now. With what we have here, if we fill this input now, you realize that when you click on submit, it will disappear. It will submit and just disappear. This is the default setting. But when you want, let's say when you now want to put the function add event listener, we want to add something. No, submit by default, it will take away whatever you have put inside this input. So that is the default. Now we don't want it to take this away. So event listener is just that we don't want to overwrite this submit issue, this element, this particular function. We don't want to overwrite it. We still want it to submit, but we want something else to happen again after this submit, and we don't want to overwrite this submit. So that is what add event listener does. So you're going to tell the system what other thing do you want it to do aside this submit without disturbing this submit of a thing. So now my whole intention now is to do it such that when I input what is supposed to be here and I click submit, it doesn't disappear. I don't want it to disappear. So in that case, when I say add event listener, what is that? What is the first thing that I want it to submit? So that's the first thing there. Then after the submit, I had my comma. Okay, why is this one disturbing? So I had my comma, and then that thing that I want it to do, now I'm going to be using function to declare it. So I'm going to say function so the function event. So function event, since this is a function, you can write it this way, or you can write it using what is the name of this thing, using arrow function. So I'm using the normal function now. So you open your code block, after opening your code block, then let me enter it. I don't usually like it standing on it. Okay, then I will be adding, so this is the name of the function that I just declared now, event. So now what do I actually want to add as an event listener? I will say event dot prevent default. So event dot prevent default. This prevent default means it should cancel its original function. How do I put it? The event that's supposed to happen when you click on submit should be cancelled. So it should cancel that. It should prevent that default, and the default is that it will not show whatever you have written there before. It will not show it. Okay, so having done this, remember this is also a function too, so you're going to be putting your parentheses, then that is that. So another thing is I want to pass in an argument. What name can I use? So I'll be declaring the function outside of this function now, but I need to pass the argument here so that it can work together. So let me just input value. Just input value, then I open a parenthesis to show that it is an what is it called? It is a function. Okay, we are going to be stopping here, but let's check what has happened to our. Okay, I need to show you our prototype before. Okay, but before we do that, let's see this now. Come here and put this. Okay, so I'm still going to be passing it on function so that it can work the way we actually want it. So can you see now that it doesn't disappear again, because I've told you to prevent that default. Okay, in order not to bombard you too much, let's meet in just a moment. Bye.